Hey moms, if you're finding it challenging to connect with your teen or tween, I've got something that can help. Dr. Melanie McNally is a licensed clinical psychologist and life coach for Gen Zers and has created a free guide titled 5 Ways to Engage with Your Teen or Tween. This quick 8-page guide offers proven methods to help you reconnect and communicate more effectively with your child. So to get this free guide, just click on the link in the show notes and go to destinationu.net/communicate. It's time to make connecting with your child easy and fun again. So grab the link in the show notes and go to destinationu.net/communicate and start connecting with your child today. Welcome to the Real Life Momz podcast. It is time to take a break from all our to-dos and carve out this time to focus on ourselves. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today I'm here with Dominika, fellow mom, an elite neuroencoding specialist and brain health coach. And we are going to talk about rewiring our brains today. So welcome, Dominika, to the show.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me, and hello to all the amazing moms because you are just rock stars just for being a mom, and the rest is just, icing on the cake.
Oh, I love that. Well, okay, I'm just going to get to it and ask you this. I would love for you to explain what you do as a brain coach, because that sounds fascinating, but even more so specifically, what is this neuroencoding?
Okay, well, a brain coach, hence brain, we work with the organ. So the idea is that who you are is not because of your psychology, but because of the organ that is not wired properly. So, simplest thing, if you're experiencing anxiety, it's not you who's having anxiety, it's the brain. And you're experiencing whatever the brain does. So if it's an organ, then we can use biology and neuroscience to rewire it and make it work the way it should in majority of cases. That's not for everybody, but definitely a majority. Anxiety, PTSD, depression, self-doubt, self-loathing, overwhelm, feeling of not enough, ADHD, all of that lives in your brain. And neuroencoding supplements the brain health part that I got the training from amazing Dr. Daniel Amen, who's a world-class neuropsychiatrist, double board certified. And he trained a bunch of us. What we do everything before medication, so you don't have to go on medication. Or when you are on medication, we help your brain get healthy so you can get off medication. But with that being said, neuroencoding is a method of rewiring your brain and practical skills so you can default to your best behavior and get rid of whatever you want to get rid of. And it harness it from the brain body connection, because how you feel is not actually how you feel. It's whatever chemicals your brain dumps on you and creates a feeling. And if we know how it works, then we can change that. And neuroencoding is a simple, practical way of rehearsing what you want your brain to do. So when the time comes, your brain goes, oh, I've practiced this, I know how to do this. And instead of defaulting to the past, does it in a new, brand new way that serves you and it works better for you compared to what it was.
Okay, that's fascinating. I love that you do things that are non-medication. That's really huge. And I love how you talk about it as it being the organ that we can kind of rewire. But I have to say, I keep hearing the word default. We default back to like these patterns. Why is it so much our pattern that the default is always like, it doesn't ever seem to default to the positive, right? Why is it always like this negative
It's not
piece?
always.
Is it
It's
not
not always.
always? Okay, well, a lot of us though it is, right?
Well, it is. So imagine, for example, if you guys are driving a car, don't do it. But if you're sitting somewhere, somebody's next to you, give yourself a high five in the mirror or give it right now to the screen, right? What did you just do? You smiled. Guess
Yeah.
what? That is programmed into you. That high five releases
Mm,
positive emotions. That's a
yeah.
positive thing. There are plenty of those things, but our brain is designed to protect us, and there's not much to protect us from. So it creates stories that are insane and attaches different things. The challenge is that everything you believed, unless you went through, the development, the working with the coach, the brain health, and all this stuff, unless you did this, everything you are, you had no say in it. It happened before you were age of 7. And then your brain goes, okay, this is how it is. So now let me look for proof. And it started looking for proof. And guess what? The good things are around us all the time, but so are the not so fun things, right? They're also. So the consciousness goes, okay, what do I believe when I was a kid? It was done with the help of something called mirror neurons.
Mm.
And they were super active then. And there's a really cool experiment that kind of demonstrate that on moms and kids. So they took toddlers and moms, about 1,000 of them, and they were filming that. And one group of moms was supposed to react with no emotion and just being positive and jolly. And the other group was supposed to react emotionally, worrying and scared. So what they did, they had the moms play with the kids. And one group of moms, when the kid would fall, go, oh, you fell, how cool, let's go and play, and just moved on. What
Mhm.
happened to the kid's face was it was like brain was looking, is that bad? Because there was no scary reaction in the mom, the brain, okay, falling is good, there's nothing bad happening. So the kid was kind of looking around, and then all the kids put a smile on their face and they just ran. The same bunch of kids, well, the other group of kids, moms were instructed to go, oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? Is your knee scrape? Is everything happening? Guess what? The kids looked at the mom, and the mom was terrified, big eyes, right? Which is a symptom of fear that our brain is programmed to read. Higher pitched voice. We can sense energy of the heartbeat, and the kids will go, "Ooh, ooh, ooh," started crying. This is nothing unusual. This is what brain does. It learns when we're kids how to react to things, and that's how we get our perspective on if something is good or bad. And we then carry this into adulthood, never really analyzing, does that really work for me? My favorite story is my grandma's story. My grandma, she went to her grandma, they were cooking ham, and I lived in Poland, so I'm Polish. So the oven was, she was putting it in, but she was cutting off the ends. And she went to her mom, goes like, why are you cutting off the ends? And she goes, well, your grandma always did it. It tastes better. Oh, okay. So the grandma was in the other room, and she goes, grandma, hey, why do you cut off the ends of the ham? Well, it tastes better. And your great grandma always did that. And great grandpa was, kind of sitting there chilling, falling asleep in front of a TV. And the little girl, which was my grandma, went, grandma, grandma, what, baby, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. And she goes, grandma, great grandma, well, grandma in that case, going, hey, why did you cut off the ends of the ham? Why does it taste better? She goes, told you that. My mom and my grandma, oh, they're both stupid. What do you mean they're both stupid? So why do you cut it? I don't cut off the ends. I used to cut off the ends because my oven was too small and it wouldn't fit.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. So funny.
And that's how our brain works. It just
Yeah.
creates stories, and everybody went with it and kept repeating, kept repeating. Nobody really thought until my grandma to ask, okay, why do we do that? And that's our responsibility. If some reaction is not serving us, then we got to go, okay, why am I reacting like this? Why is this making me angry? Why am I crying because of this? And am I okay? Because one thing is to ask yourself and then go, okay, but am I okay with this? Because if you're okay with it, leave it alone. But if you're not okay, that's the time to kind of dissect and go, okay, what could I do differently, right? Or why am I angry at my kids in this situation? It's because of controls, whatever that might be. Or why am I thinking that it's not okay for me to get my nails done once a week? Right? And why am I getting stressed over that? Or why am I feeling bad if I tell my kids to go to bed and I'm being firm, and then I feel bad when I go to bed and go, oh my God, maybe I was too firm, maybe I was too strong, right? All of those things are what's programmed into you. Until you start looking at it, you really have no control over it. But the moment you start looking at it, that's where brain coaching and neuroencoding comes in. And you go, okay, I want to feel like this when I do this. Okay, let's reprogram your brain. So the default behavior is going to be new. Now you
Mhm.
have a choice.
Yeah, I love that. That is so, so right on. I mean, I can even just think of millions of things in my head, like even silly stuff. My mom was very superstitious, or she still is. And I mean, even to this day, if my kids have to cut something off their sweater, I'm like, you got to chew gum. And like my kids even ask, like, why do you have to chew gum? I'm like, I don't know. It's bad luck. I don't know. I'm not sure. My mom did it, so we have to do it, and that's what we do. But it's like, why? Like, and that's simple. That's not harming anyone, but like a simple thing
Exactly.
that you don't need to do, right?
But that is so true. And we all have that. I have this thing that when I drop something, it's a piece of paper of information, I step on it. And it comes from theater that if you step on the whatever you perform or you learn, you will not forget. And then if you forget something at home when you left, you have to come back, sit down, and count to 10. And literally, I did that 3 days ago. And my daughter's like, Mom, why did you sit down and count to 10? I'm like, oh, well, I've just been always doing this. She goes, but why? I'm like, I have no clue. Supposedly it brings good luck. And I realize that I still do those things, but they're harmless, right? So those things we can leave alone. They're cute, they're adorable, they're family tradition. Who cares?
Right.
There
They're
are
not holding
plenty
us
of,
back. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of things that we're doing that are not good for us. They're not good for transferring. Like my grandma was afraid of all men. And it took me years to get rid of that fear. She would say to me when I was a girl, don't go out at night because if you're in the dark, somebody can grab you and rape you.
Yeah.
And the only person who can do that biologically are men, so far as I know. And so I would feel very uncomfortable outside of light in the afternoons and the evenings. And winter comes and we don't have much light, right? So imagine the period of discomfort, even not fear, but you didn't really know why until you go back, you go, my grandma used to tell me that. Okay, so how can I work on this? And there are techniques to rework that and not feel uncomfortable in the dark. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to run into a dark alley and just to prove myself that it's okay. But then discomfort in a public place because it's dark and it's after 4 p.m. and then not feeling comfortable leaving, that is preventing me from living. It
Right.
doesn't mean I'm going to go into a dark alley and search for trouble. Those are two different things, right? But that's all wired into your brain. And those are called beliefs. But we always think that the beliefs are something, but they're tiny things. And those tiny things influence what you do, how you act, how you relate to people. And if you don't know what that is and you don't know where it came from, then you're in trouble because
Mhm.
you're living a life that you didn't design. Somebody designed by accident for you. That sucks. And let's call it as it is, because the moment you have your aha moment, you get to change it. That's the beauty of it. We're not stuck with the brain we have. And that's what Dr. Amen says all the time. Your brain can be changed. So if you have, for example, emotional reactions before PMS, moms, right? You
Mhm.
get pissed off, angry, and everything, you're about to kill everybody, or you go into bed and cry and eat ice cream, whatever that is. Well, guess what? We have brain scans of 3 days before the period and after. You would not recognize the brain. The brain 3 days before the period has billions of holes. Not that it has holes, but it looks like a hole in a scan because there's not enough of blood flow and oxygen. So the areas stop shutting down and they're not functioning properly. So you get anxiety and depression and PMS symptoms. Guess what? That can be changed. We can change that in your brain so you don't feel like that, or at least feel way less that it's not impacting how you're functioning. And it's all about you because at the end of the day, you're raising your kids to go away. And then you got to be happy with you and your life, right?
So, okay, recognizing is, it sounds like step one here, right? Like we have to know
Absolutely.
what it is, but how do we start rewiring? How do we change some of those patterns, especially when the brain itself obviously is changing on scans? How do we change that?
Absolutely. But you know what? Your heart can beat fast and it can beat slow. And it's up to you how you raise the heartbeat. So, what if you could do the same thing with the brain? And you can. There are certain things in life that you can do every day. And one of them is, for example, I'm going to give you my story. I used to get pissed off anytime somebody wouldn't text me back within 30 minutes. I was furious because for me, that meant that that person doesn't care about me, that person ignores me, and it's being dismissive. And there was a whole story to that attached. Now, the challenge with that is that nobody knew that that was my association with texting back in 30 minutes. It was my rule that I text back everybody immediately when I get the text so they feel validated. So my crazy brain assumed that this is everybody. Well, it's not. Ta-da. and nobody knew that they're doing something to me because I created that story in my head and I kind of didn't share. How often do you really share the rules with other people, why you think and feel a certain way, right? So it took me a very long time. So what I did, if I wouldn't get the text back, I would look and go, okay, have I ever not texted back somebody in 30 minutes? Yes. Did it always, listen to the language, did it always mean that I don't care about them? No. What was the reason? I was busy. I didn't notice. I was tired. I fell asleep. Is it possible that the other person is in that situation right now? Duh. Yes, it is. And the moment you put doubt in your brain starts to look for other options because your brain is designed to delete, distort, and generalize. And the generalize is the worst thing our brain can do. It does it to optimize the energy use. It does it so it doesn't have to analyze every time. For example, we see a man with a knife running towards us. It already learned that's not a good thing. And then it goes run, right? But if it wouldn't do the generalization, then it would go, maybe that's my friend. Maybe I should talk to them. Maybe I should do this, right? So it would take a lot of energy and often have the wrong result. So brain looks at what looks similar. So very often you'll see, for example, later in the future, a man walking in a certain way. It will trigger that memory, but you don't know it's that memory from when somebody hurt you. You'll either tense up or, put a boundary or run away or do whatever. That is happening because it optimized the experience, took elements, and it's not telling you what it's doing. It's just creating one lump, and everything that is similar to creates the same reaction because it wants to protect you, which is great until it's not. So recognizing those things is training yourself, going, okay, how many times have I seen a man, let's say, walking in a certain way? Did anything happen? Well, no. Could it happen? Yes. But did it happen? Well, no. So does it mean that every time I see a person walking in a certain way, this will happen? No. So again, it puts a doubt in your brain and it starts to look for other ways of optimizing that information. Now, it doesn't happen if you do it once. You have to do it over and over. And after age of 25 and 27 for 25 for women, 27 for men, neuroplasticity, which creates the rewiring, needs to be directed, or it has to be highly significant emotional event. So if it needs to be directed, you need to choose, I want to change that and work on it. It takes a while. And the funny thing is, the rewiring doesn't happen when you talk to yourself and do the process. It happens when you're asleep. So ladies, our brains are busier than men's are. In every study, we have more connections, we have more white matter, and we're able to multitask naturally, which men aren't. We're also designed to be intuitive and read signals that we cannot name, but we have that weird feeling that we know. And it's a design, literal design in your brain. So because of that, we need more sleep for the brain to clean up stuff. And we need minimum 7 to 9 hours to be healthy.
That's huge. And I don't know if a lot of moms are getting those hours in, especially if they have little ones. Yeah.
Yes. And your brain shrinks when you have little ones. That's why we used to raise kids in communities. Your brain shrinks because it needs to direct the blood flow and attention to other things while you were pregnant. And then it takes about 6 months to a year to go back to its normal size. It gets less oxygen, gets less blood flow. That little sucker, if you're breastfeeding it, which I highly recommend because it's a great bonding experience and a lot of other good things for the brain, is taking all your nutrients. Those little gorgeous parasites that I love so much, and I have 2 of them, they ate all my teeth and all my bones. It was insane, right? So it is so important that you take care of yourself. That's why those grandmas, mothers that used to be in the past, it was a village raising kids. And it wasn't because we're, incapable. It was because it takes so much on your body. So give yourself some grace and make sure that there's somebody who can take your kid for an hour, for 2, where you can get a nap, you can take a shower, or you can eat that ice cream without anybody crying on your side.
Okay, so brains shrink when
Yes.
you're, it sounds like younger kids because they
Yes.
are literally taking some of the life force out of you. But how long does it, I mean, I'm assuming our brain re-expands and gets bigger.
6 months to a year. That's why you're
Okay.
clumsy when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
That's why you forget things because of the blood flow oxygenation that then the brain returns. And the functions of the brain are really directed to protect the offspring and the
Mhm.
survival of the offspring. That's a biological function. I am so sorry for all my American moms because we are so deprived of being able to regenerate with our laws of staying 6 weeks and go back to work.
Mhm.
Nowhere in the world besides US, maternity leave is 6 weeks. The shortest you have in Europe or in any other country is 6 months. That's the shortest one. And most of the time, it's a year to 3 years. That is paid maternity leave. So
Amazing.
we are here in US so deprived of that ability formally, right? But the idea here is that you got to go to work in 6 weeks. Your body hasn't healed even. Your brain is still in shock because biologically, our lovely kids, amazing tiny kids, are parasites. They attach themselves to your body, take your nutrients, build their own home, and then they come and we love them. We're a weird species, but I love my kids. So I laugh about it. But the truth is that it's a very challenging process physiologically. And then when your kids grow up, guess what? The attention that you need, that's why your brain goes back and you need attention, concentration. Those little tiny humans run around like crazy, right? And they have no prefrontal cortex developed, zero. So you are frontal lobes of your kids, decision making, suggesting what's best, analyzing, planning, self-control, all of that, that's your role biologically for those little humans till about 25, 28 years old. Like it's not developed. It doesn't exist. I mean, it does, but it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And then you have the hormonal developments, and now we're having kids later. So you have teenager and a mom in menopause. Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane for the brain and for the changes, biological changes. So the brain is such a precious thing. But the beauty of it is that if you do even the minimum, which is more than most people, you can prevent so many challenges, emotional, biological, relationship wise, memory wise, all of those things can be prevented. So we need to put our brains and ourselves first, no matter how many kids and husbands you have.
So doing the minimal, what does that look like? Sleep, we said that's a must, 7 to 9 hours, got it. Well, or try to get it, right? But what is the minimal pieces we can do? I'm in that menopause
So am
teenage
I.
phase. And so I know for me, my brain is very forgetful.
So if you can, please do hormone replacement therapy. There are versions that are like plant-based and they're regular hormonal based, whichever, it does help.
Mhm.
Number two, being outside minimum 2 hours a day. Absolutely. The outside, green outside calms down your nervous system. It's free. You don't need to, I mean, there are some breathing exercises you can do, but even walking outside, if you're perimenopausal moms, exercises that are strength resistance, it's a must for your brain. It helps get rid of cortisol and it helps your memory, builds blood flow to the brain. Another thing that's absolutely free, get rid of red dye 3, which we just had, red dye 40, and high corn fructose syrup. Just these three. Eliminate from everything you eat. Your brain is in permanent inflammation. ADHD is absolutely, undoubtedly related to those dyes. Cancer, only in some studies. But when it comes to ADHD, overactivity, and problems with memory and stress, absolutely every study shows that there is a correlation between those. So getting rid of that. Your phone must go to jail. 2 hours
Hmm.
of phone a day, and that's it. No more
Wow.
scrolling. If you want to have anxiety and low self-esteem, social media is the way to go. So don't tell your teenager not to go on social media if you're sitting and instead of talking to your teen, scrolling.
Mhm.
Bad idea. That is absolutely horrible for your brain. It creates something called dopamine loop and dopamine addiction. And the challenge with dopamine, you need more and more to feel good and have the drive. And when it's kind of depleted, the lows are so low that getting out of bed is almost impossible. We have to retrain your brain. One of the ways to do it, again, free, if it's very hard to limit your screen time, in every phone, you can turn your phone into black and white. Your brain will not be drawn to the phone as much. And you will not be so inclined to doom scroll and look at your phone because we need color. Color is connected to excitement and variety. So when you do that, your brain is less interested. Try to sit and watch series of black and white movies for 3 hours. Good luck. So there are certain things. That's why movies became more popular when color came. It's a dopamine addiction thing. So that is huge. And I want to tell you that in the brain, it looks the same. Dopamine addiction, those are people pleasers and high achievers. They're the same. And it is so, so important that we learn how to say no for our brain health and feel okay with it. Enjoy saying no, but not in a disrespectful way, but in a way where you understand that this is not good for you. And you understand that somebody needs that from you. At the same time, say, hey, I get it that this is important to you. And at this moment, this is not what I'm focusing on. And teaching people that it's okay for them to say that too, right? And not taking it personally. So those are basic things. Breathing exercises, morning walks. Let's stick to no more 2 cups of coffee a day for your brain. More than that is not good. Up to 2 is actually helpful, and it's good for your heart and some other things. So that's another thing you can do for your brain. Either pickleball, table tennis, regular tennis, or learning a foreign language 10 minutes a day.
Wow. Why is that? What happens there with the table tennis, pickleball?
Bilateral exercises, you are making quick decisions, you're introducing movement, you change the heartbeat, oxygenation, and you have to analyze information from both sides of the brain, creating a strategy, adding a movement to it, and planning and anticipating, and engages your full brain, which activates your brain and it allows your brain to be healthier anytime your brain is active in a healthy way. And that's one of those ways, is absolutely life-changing. Meditation, if you don't like meditation, that's okay. When you're walking, count. Just concentrate on breathing and counting in and counting out. 10 minutes of this changes. So we have brain scans or praying, but true praying. If you believe in God, going, dear God, please, God, and that doesn't work. You really need to feel what you're praying for to the point where you have tears or excitement or whatever else, you have the feelings coming up. That type of prayer rewires your brain and it calms down the nervous system. Saunas for detoxification of your brain, 10 minutes, 3 times a week, magic. If you can, if you can't, that's okay. You can have, like I had a car broken for about 3 months and my car was heating up to the point it was a sauna. So I didn't need to go to a sauna because within 5 minutes it was so hot that you couldn't really breathe because it's fixed now, but it was a challenge. And so I was going, okay, how can I make this positive? I still have to get there. So I had 2 sets of clothes and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get a sauna. Dr. Amen recommends saunas. That's one way to do it, right? It's just hopefully the road is not an hour drive. It's just 10, 15 minutes, hopefully. So, there are different things you can go about it, but these are free. These are absolutely free. You can do stress reduction exercises, which are 4-minute exercises that I teach. You can find them on my page. They're absolutely free. And if you don't want to go to my page, just put stress reduction exercises into YouTube and billions will come up, right?
Yeah.
You have the skills and you have so many means of doing simple things that will improve quality of your life. No doubt.
Well, I love this because you are giving so many tools that don't take a lot of time and are already accessible to you for free. That's exactly what people need, and they can start doing stuff like today because it's available. Now, I know like medication, you go more natural first, but there are people who may be already on medication for anxiety, ADHD, things like that. What about that? Does that work together with some of the natural stuff?
So because brain can change, medication only masks or calm down certain areas, right? But if we know which part of the brain is overacting, underacting, underperforming, overperforming, we can target specific exercises, behaviors, thoughts, and other things we do, including food. There's even ADHD diet that is recommended. We have found, for example, I'm going to give you an example that requires a doctor, and there are not many doctors trained in this, so please find a good one. We have found that lack of integration of all the primitive reflexes in kids and adults results in ADHD. So, because if this doesn't integrate, then different parts of the brain don't develop as they should. Guess what? With kids up to 7, it takes 3 weeks of rehab to integrate those primitive reflexes. And we've seen kids absolutely get rid of that ADHD. And then you go, but adults, well, adults is not 3 weeks, it's about 6 months of specific exercises for your brain, but that can decrease or even eliminate ADHD in at least 80% of cases, if that is the case in you, because there could be other reasons, right? Another thing we have found is very often trying quite restrictive but very effective elimination diets. Sometimes elimination diet, and there are studies in about 70% of cases, and it improves or eliminates ADHD, depression, and anxiety. Try it. It doesn't cost anything. It's available online. Just go and try it. Is it fun? No. Is it easy? No. But what do you want? You want easy and stay with your ADHD and depression, anxiety, or do you want to, and again, if you have some type of illnesses that prevent you from doing that, please talk to your doctor. I'm a coach and I can suggest things, but at the end of the day, if you're not overall healthy person and you cannot eat certain things, or another thing is magnesium, potassium, have your blood work done every 6 months. We have found, and that study over a study, please go to PubMed if you want to check out, iron and ferritin, magnesium, potassium, and D3. If they are low, but in the norm, you will experience anxiety, depression, and heightened symptoms of ADHD. So it is recommended that you're in a 50th to 70th percentile of the norm for your brain not to be triggered by lack of that. So D3, if you're, for example, the norm in America is between 30 and 100. If you're at 45, that does absolutely nothing from your brain. Your D3 needs to be at least at 70 for your brain to function properly. Iron, the same thing. Low iron creates anxiety, depression, low mood. Those are very simple things. These are blood work. And guess what? All of these things, unless you're sick and you need to consult with your doctor, I'm going to keep repeating that. So you guys realize that, yes, you can do it on your own, but also worth. And a lot of doctors don't know that this is the value necessary for the brain to function properly. And you're still going to be in the norm. That iron, most people don't know that you should not take iron every day. You take iron every other day. It's better absorption. Simple, right? I need to be on iron my whole life. I don't absorb iron almost from anything. That's my beauty, right? But not everybody is like that. So every 6 months, get your blood work done. And if you're feeling down, if I'm feeling low, the first thing I do my blood work. 80% of the time, it is that. Now, it doesn't have to be that, but we want to eliminate the simple things first before we jump into medication, high level. And the same thing, if you're taking medication for ADHD, they either raise dopamine or they raise serotonin. Guess what? There are supplements that do that as well. And they're natural supplements. Now, you cannot take them both. Please do not ever medicate yourself with supplements that raise dopamine and serotonin, because too much dopamine can kill you. So it is important that you're aware and you work with somebody. Like I work with a lot of doctors when we do the transition. But if you start rewiring your brain, building habits that will prevent your brain from going to a certain way. And those habits are something you can control. Because if you're only taking medication, what might happen, and it happens often, the record breaker in my coaching was a gentleman who was taking 17 medication for ADHD/depression because they stopped working. And studies have shown that when you compare Prozac for a year and exercises in a force and specific way of breathing over a year period of time, breathing was 80% more successful than Prozac. So I'm not saying medication is bad, because sometimes you need medication, there's no way out. But if you are willing to do some work on you, look for alternatives, be smart. If you are a very, very worried person, talk to your doctor, but find a doctor who's aware of the more round approach because there are ways. It will not work for everybody, but it will work for the majority, we have found at least. Obviously, if you're missing part of your brain, brain coaching will not help you. Neuroencoding will not help you because you're missing part of the brain. And that is definitely for different practitioners type of work. But we work with people who have anxiety after surgery. We work with people who have anxiety because of giving birth. We work with people who have anxiety because they're afraid if they're going to be a good mom. All of those things are very, I know it sounds awful, but they're not hard to fix if we do the work together. So I highly recommend, even if not me, there are books. Unleash the Power of the Female Brain by Dr. Daniel Amen. Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Amen. There are other books that you can read. And if you need to explore it with your doctor or come to a coach like me who specializes in those things, life is exactly what you're there to make it. And you as a woman, especially as a woman, have a different brain than a man does. And we have different needs than men do. And there's nothing better or worse about it, but it's different. Our brain has more white matter, more connections. We have more mirror neurons than men do. And we function differently, but we can calm that system down. We can understand and be graceful to our brain and make it better and have a beautiful life, being excited.
Yeah, so true. So true. I love it. I love all that you're saying. It's so I'm like taking notes left and right. Now, where can the listeners find you? Because you're amazing and have so much knowledge. And I don't know how many brain coaches, honestly, I have even heard of.
We're a brand new breed. Dr. Amen has been training brain coaches for about, I think, 5, 6 years. Now it's a little bit more ramping up. If you go on social media and you put your brain coach D on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, you'll find me. You can also put Dominika Staniewicz, and that's going to find me on LinkedIn. And you have plenty of interviews, articles on LinkedIn. There are newsletters, there are freebies, there are tests. There's so many things you can harness. If you have questions, you can always write to me and I'll create something special for you. Why not? Because guess what? If you have that problem, I guarantee you that there's hundreds, thousands of other women that have the same problem. You're not alone. And we think it's only our problem. No, no, it's not. It's not. I've never had anybody original yet. It always boils down to the same thing, right? And again, this knowledge is expanding. So don't get mad at yourself that you didn't know, because 15 years ago, our parents had no clue about neuroscience. It was somewhere, in the background, they were looking at the brain, but it was never translated into psychology and into practical things like it is now. So yourbraincoachd.com, that's my website. Your Brain Coach D on any social media.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us so many amazing tips to help us start rewiring our brain just even naturally. So thank you.
Absolutely my pleasure. And hey, if you use something and it works, let me know. I would love to hear that.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I mean, Dominika, what can you say? She was absolutely amazing. She had so many amazing tips to give us today, so many free, accessible, and easy things to do to start rewiring our brain that we really have no excuses but to start. So thank you, Dominique, for joining us. And if you want to learn more about her, just click on the link in the show notes and go visit her website and everything that she offers. And until next week, keep carving out time for yourself. And remember, you need to prioritize yourself and put yourself on the top of your to-do list.